All right, welcome back. New podcast this week. This week we're doing something a little bit different where we're going to talk about a specific movie. We're going to watch it for the first time, each and every one of us, and we're going to review it for you guys. We're going to go ahead and give you our expectations for the movie. The movie in question is the newest project from Guy Ritchie, The Gentleman, which I was introduced to this movie by Nigel, who brought it up a lot. Pretty much in any podcast he's been in, he compares some movie to this. Last podcast, the best of the 2010s, we were talking about Kingsman, The Golden Circle, or The Secret Service. And he brought up The Gentleman, and he compared those two movies, which I did not really get at the time because from what I heard from The Gentleman, it was just like a heist movie. And I had never seen a commercial for it, the trailer. And I really didn't know what was in it, except for the fact that Guy Ritchie's directing it. If you guys don't know who Guy Ritchie is, it is the guy that made the Sherlock Holmes movies. And Guy Ritchie, I have respect for him as a director. Matthew McConaughey is in this movie. I have a lot of respect for him as an actor. Interstellar is one of my favorite movies of all time. He was in Dazed and Confused. And we were voting around, seeing what movie we would watch. And Billy was the one that recommended The Gentleman. And I kind of want to know, what are you going into this movie for, Billy?
Well, just like you, I was introduced to this movie by Nigel. And as everybody knows, comedy is it's my favorite genre. And comedy and sci-fi, I like action. When you put action and comedy together, they make the best movies ever. And just like you, when I saw that it was Matthew McConaughey, I already immediately had respect for this movie. I've always loved watching Matthew McConaughey. One of his best films.
All right.
Yes, sir. The Lincoln Lawyer.
Yes, sir.
One of the best films, yes. And I really my expectation I met with this movie because I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, my expectations are pretty high. Like you said, I'm really expecting some good comedy out of this. I still want that action piece. If you guys know the movie, what was it, like The Italian Job? It's a Wahlberg movie. I think it's similar to this. That's one of my favorite heist movies ever, and that's kind of what I'm expecting from this. That level of both a mix of comedy and action at the same time. Now let's go over to Nebby. What are you expecting from this movie?
So none of us have seen this movie? I thought you saw it.
No, I've never seen this movie. I've never seen it.
I've actually never even seen the trailer yet.
So yeah, I haven't seen the trailer.
I decided not to do anything. All I know is that it's action comedy from the Wikipedia page, and that's all I'm going off of. I know Matthew McConaughey. I know the actors. I kind of have a slight idea of the overall plot, just a heist movie, I'm assuming, and that's what I'm trying to go with as little as possible right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, Yamik introduced me to this movie, and I had no idea that Nigel introduced Yamik, who introduced this movie to me. So coming from Nigel, that would usually lower my expectation of what the movie would be. But recently, Nigel has had. I've noticed that he does have good taste in music and other factors. So, I'm expecting a nice treat from Nigel right here.
Okay, you guys already saw what our expectations were. For you guys, it was about 2 or 3 seconds. For us, we have been here for 2.5 hours. We spent that about 2 hours watching. We've just been talking about random stuff for like 30 minutes now. We'll go ahead. The way that we're going to do this, we'll go ahead, give our initial comments right after watching the movie, right? And then we're going to rank it for you guys, just rate it in a few different categories: acting, comedy, action, the level of engagement throughout the movie, the score and the music, and then the payoff, and then the plot in general. And that makes about 7 categories. Each of them are not weighed at the same level. Like comedy and acting, I have comedy at a higher level than acting. Comedy weighs 10 points, where acting weighs only 5. And then just like action and the score, action is 10 points, where the score is just 5. So each movie, this movie, each of us will give it a score out of 55. Now, that's context there by what's going to be happening there. Let's go ahead. Nebby had to leave the call and watch it on his own. So I really have no idea what state of mind he's in. So I want to see what he says first.
Well, first off, keep giving me these sticking movies. You know, I'm trying to watch a movie, just enjoy it, but I saw Knives Out, Inception, and all these movies. You got to think so hard. And this movie was the same. I was having a hard time following, especially there were some parts, but overall, I think the acting was great. I liked all the characters. You know what I mean? At first, I didn't understand what's going on. Like, is this a movie that we're talking about? But then, like, well, this
Yeah.
was crazy. But like,
Okay, we'll go ahead.
I was hoping for like movie I can ask, but I can't do it again.
All right, we'll say for this part right here, or in just our comments, we'll say it's spoiler. Let's keep it spoiler free. And then once we get to the actual ratings, we'll get a little bit more into spoilers. And if you want to skip through that, I'll have timestamps in the description. So go ahead, Billy. Spoiler free. What is your just initial thoughts on the movie? Because I know you went in with a good amount of hype.
As I was watching this movie, there's one thing I could not do. I could not take my eyes off the screen. Like, it was impossible. This movie kept you focused. And just like Nebu, sometimes movies can like make me get bored and get lost in between the words, especially when there's a narrator.
Mhm.
But when movies are as interesting as this movie, I just couldn't. Like, I had to follow. I had to know what was next, and I was just paying attention. And like every time I thought Yabo said something or looked here or something, I would pause my video just to make sure I didn't miss anything at all. I don't think I missed some stuff, of course, since it's my first time, but there's not a lot I missed from this movie.
Yeah.
I would say the opposite for me. I think I missed a lot of stuff. I barely sleeping.
I'm gonna go off a limb, and I'm seeing here it just made it. It came out the day before my birthday, January 24th, 2020. I'm gonna go off a limb and say this is the first or second best movie of 2020 as of now that I've seen. And I mean that might not be something. It might not. I mean, there's definitely like Bad Boys for Life. We saw that on the same day this came out. There's I just saw a few days ago Palm Springs. There are some good movies that came out. I won't say that there's anything that's transcendent that came out because of coronavirus. A lot of movies have been restricted from coming out. But this movie right here, I'm gonna go off on them and say I think it's the best one that I've seen so far this year. And just like Billy said, it's just so eye-catching. It's so enthralling. You don't want to take your eyes off the screen at any time. It's a movie that I will say at the very beginning, I thought when I heard the narration, I was like, oh no, I don't want a super expository film. And I will go ahead and say, maybe a spoiler, maybe not, this is an expository film. They're explaining almost everything at any point of the movie.
Oh yeah, visually.
But they do it in such a clever way. Like you said, visually, there's verbally, there's, of course, this is not a good comparison. But looking at Inception and then the layers of the dreams, this movie truly made me wonder throughout: is it real? Is it just a pitch for a film? Is like I didn't know what was occurring at points in the movie, but also even though I didn't 100% know what was happening, I still wanted it to happen. I was still engaged in the film and devoted to those characters because it was storytelling at its best. The story is just like that. The story is told in such an amazing way. Now, go ahead.
I feel sequel vibes. Do y'all feel sequel vibes?
Oh, I don't know. I mean,
the way it ended.
Yeah, definitely.
I love the meta-ness.
Wait, we'll get there when it gets to the comedy, because I have a lot to say about the meta humor throughout this movie. I feel if they do a sequel, I'm really hoping, like, you know how 22 Jump Street was for 21 Jump Street. I rewatched 22 Jump Street about a week ago. I realized how much meta humor that movie has, and it just makes fun of it being a sequel all the time, and that just makes it so much better to me. I don't know, A Gentleman 2 wouldn't be a bad idea. I feel like this might be better as a standalone though. I wouldn't say the sequel.
Not A Gentleman. I thought it was called
it was called what?
The Gentleman.
Grandfather. In my mind, that's what I was calling it. So like the sequel can be The Great Grandfather. Never mind. Let me say this, man. I'm not gonna lie. I sort of predicted what would happen.
Yeah,
Actually,
well, some things. Yeah. The plot in and of itself. We'll get there. Hold up. Yeah, we'll get there when we talk about.
I gotta say this. There was something that I was thinking would happen in the movie, and did not happen.
All right, bring
Throughout
that
the,
up.
I'm not
Bring
gonna
that
say
up
what
when we
it
get to the
is.
plot. Bring that up when we get to the plot when it's
Yeah.
spoilers allowed. All right. So let's go ahead and unless you guys have any more spoiler-free comments for anybody that hasn't seen it yet, you want to go into the actual ratings?
Yeah.
Do I move back past? Is the movies? I mean, is the music in the ratings or?
Yeah, we're just gonna rate it for first. First thing is the
Uh,
acting, because going into this movie, seeing the level of actors, just naming off obviously Matthew McConaughey, and then you have Colin Farrell who is in Bruges. You have Hugh Grant who initially when I saw him in the movie, I had no idea that it was
Is
him.
Hugh Grant Fletcher?
Did you say Fletcher? I believe so. Yeah,
Is,
Hugh Grant is
is
Fletcher.
that
Yeah, Fletcher. And there are some, I won't say like huge name. Eddie Marson. Eddie Marson. I can't remember what movie he was in, but he cracked me up there, and he showed up here, and he cracked me up here too. He was the I'm not sure if he was the business owner, Big Dave. Do you remember Big Dave, the guy that? You know, one thing. This is a spoiler. I'll go ahead and say that spoiler alert. Remember, Big Dave? He got taken into the van, and then they took some sort of explicit video of him.
yeah, well, I don't understand that.
Yo, I really wanted to see that video.
I
bro.
really, you know, what I was thinking the whole time.
I was thinking of Pulp Fiction, bro. Something like that.
I really was thinking they were gonna pull off like a hangover type thing, where they show us the video in the post credits, right? And I just sat through it just to find it, and I didn't, and that just left me disappointed. I want to see that video.
Yeah, 'cause they showed
Even though-
everything else in the movie.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
all right. So let's go ahead talking about the acting. I gotta say, there was some great acting in there. I wouldn't say that there was any bad acting per se. I don't even think there was any subpar acting. All the acting in the movie was good to great. Matthew McConaughey did a great job. All of the supporting actors, the thugs, they all seemed genuine. For me, I feel like this acting wise is at where we're rating this out of 5. I will give it a 4.5.
Oh no, you know, I never really seen a Matthew McConaughey movie. I said I don't remember, and I feel like this is the most Matthew McConaughey acting Matthew McConaughey does.
Matthew
And
McConaughey only
this
acts
off
like
his character.
Matthew McConaughey. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I really did like the acting. That's one thing I noticed a lot. So I'm gonna give it a solid 4.5. I think that's a correct score.
All right, Billy, what do you
Yo.
give this movie in acting?
I give good, like I credit the acting when I'm convinced. And I gotta say I was convinced. Many times things I thought I was gonna happen, the actor just amazed me, especially Matthew McConaughey. So I gotta give us 4.5 as well.
All right, straight across the board, 4.5 out of 5 for the acting. Once again, I feel like when I was just looking at the reviews afterwards, the acting was brought up so many times. Even I went down into the audience reviews. I saw somebody that really didn't like the movie, who somebody gave it 2 stars out of 5, which I do not agree with. But they still said there's amazing acting in this movie. It was genuine. It felt real. And let's go on. And because I think acting goes a lot into the comedy. And, well, let's go ahead. Nebby, go ahead and start off. What do you think about the comedy in this movie?
All right, so I guess the comedy was more plot driven than a character just being funny. There was actually no, yeah, there was a lot of funny things. One thing I really thought was like pretty humorous was when they were about to fight and then like one by one they started coming out and just that whole
Oh yeah, that entire scene was.
Wait, where?
The
where like
scene
there's
where
two like groups gonna fight in the weed shop.
they're in the weed shop, right? Once again, spoilers. And then they're
yeah.
like, Mark, Bob, and then Bob got out there. He was like, Dave, and then they
that
just
was
kept
funny.
coming out. That was
I think that was on purpose. I don't know if that was on purpose, but like that had to be on purpose.
I holistically agree with your assessment that this is plot driven comedy, but the delivery of all of the comedic lines, the delivery is just amazing. It makes it work so much better. Imagine if in that scene that you were just talking about, if there was anybody else but those actors, I don't feel that it would have worked just as well. And go ahead, Billy.
Yeah, that you're talking about is a perfect example of what Yabo said, where acting falls within comedy, or comedy falls within acting. basically, like the fact that what was I gonna say? Shoot, the fact that it was just telling people to come out, like sounding serious. Like as those guys came out, they came out tough. So viewers are thinking, oh, these little punks with their cameras are about to get themselves beat. Of course, as you watch the scene, it gets like you start doubting it a little bit because the kids are a little confident. They're not leaving. They're not so scared. And it's great.
The way they did it too.
Yeah.
It was like only until a certain point, like when they reached like this far, and then like, they would wait, like this timing and everything. And at first, you were like, you didn't notice what they were doing, and then the repetitiveness.
Yeah, as of right now, I don't have directing as one of the categories, but I gotta say right there, Guy Ritchie's the choice to not originally show the fight, just to remember right after that, you wanted to see that fight, correct? But he cut away right away. And he left you. Even to me, I was just like, what the? And I really, really wanted to see it. And then when we finally got back to it, I won't say that was completely satisfying because in my heart, I wanted the old guys to beat up the young ones. And then once finally seeing the video, it disappointed me, but not in a bad way because I think it was meant to disappoint us. And the comedy overall.
Yeah.
Now let's get into the meta humor. Or actually, Billy, go ahead before we move on.
Oh, so like, wait, what do you want me to talk about?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say something.
Oh yeah. So I was gonna be like, and the like disappointing us with making those kids win. Some viewers might be like, oh, I like the older guys better, but later those younger guys are like they're built in a way that the viewers start liking them in the end.
Oh yeah,
because of what they did.
At the very end, how they save the guy. Another spoiler. Well, I already said there's spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers were crazy, bro.
Yeah. I said it already. We're allowed spoilers. Once again, say it again.
Yeah, the way each character is like pretty cool. Like every character had their moment. And when they introduced that one guy at that one restaurant, like he was like,
Fletcher,
crazy.
Was it Fletcher?
Yeah,
I believe so.
I mean,
restaurant?
No,
at the restaurant.
I don't remember any of the names. Bad about already.
I don't remember
what
all
was
of them.
The guy like right hand man, like Michael's right hand man. What was his name?
Michael's.
I don't know.
Mickey's or Michael's. Mickey's or Michael's right hand.
Isn't that the same person?
No, there's another.
Mickey is Michael.
I remember. I thought that, but then I remember as they went on, they said Michael, and then I think there was another dude named Michael. Oh no, that's Matthew. No, my bad. That was Matthew, not Michael. So Michael's Ray. Ray. I don't think they said his name. Yeah, Ray. I see it here.
But what I like is like, you know how you say every character has their own moment.
Mm-hmm.
So like what I like is how at the beginning they make him seem like a punk, like he's a weakling. Like at the beginning when Fletcher comes in and starts telling him the story and tell him, just listen to my story, or like tells him shut up, or makes it seem like Fletcher's has the upper hand or whatever. And then later they build him up when he goes to get that girl from those guys where dude got pushed off the balcony.
Yeah.
From there you start seeing that this guy is he's not a weakling. He's not soft.
That's what they
and also when he opens the fridge and then they show the guy's dead body, you go, who is this guy? Yeah. I thought he was soft. Yeah.
I had something to say. What was it that I was gonna say? I forgot what I was gonna say. Hopefully it comes back to me. But I guess let's go to the meta humor and how. I mean, the entire movie is meta in so many ways. It's a story within a story, referring back to the film industry at multiple points. It's great meta humor, definitely great. Nebi, you brought this up earlier, so I'm assuming you have something to say about it.
Yeah, it's not even like it's actually one story really, with like different aspects of the story being told. It's the story being told in the story, but it's not like a different story. You know what I mean?
The reveal when we were nearing the end, like about 5 minutes out, when it was the guy in a pitch meeting next to like a film executive. What was the guy's name? It's not Dry Eye. What was it? The main guy that was telling the story throughout, the narrator, and then he was just
Fletcher?
No, is it Fletcher?
Fletcher was
Yeah,
telling the
it is
story.
Fletcher. It is Fletcher, yes. Fletcher, and then all of a sudden, just about 5 minutes out, he's in a pitch meeting, right? And he's pitching the actual story to a cinema executive. And as of that moment, I was like, oh, shoot, this isn't real. And for a second, my excitement throughout the movie, it kind of died down for a second. I was like, oh, shoot, I hate it when movies do that. And then they take you right back in. And then they're like, this was real. And it immerses you back in.
Yeah, this order of sequence in scenes and cuts, like going back and forth, is perfect. Yeah. Like, I don't know who's in charge of this, but they did a great job. Do you know who's in charge? Is it the camera director?
Oh, what I was going to say, I remember it now. It was every single confrontation in the entire movie. As soon as I had a hint of something's going to happen, I was immersed. I couldn't take, we said it throughout the whole movie, I couldn't take my eyes off. But especially in those scenes, I didn't blink at all. Because anytime, after the initial one, the movie starts off with you thinking that Mickey's about to get shot, right? And then from that point on, anytime there was another confrontation, I just wanted to know, how do we get to that? And then once we get to that and it's revealed what did happen, I want to know, where do we go from that? It's, once again, just like you said, it's a great job from the film crew as a whole. It was Alan Stewart. I want to see what other movies he worked on, the cinematographer.
Yeah, the confrontation definitely were like crazy, because when Michael goes to Matthew after his right hand man figure out the whole story after talking to Fletcher, and Fletcher demands the 20 by the way, after Fletcher leaves the house after telling him the whole story and we're up to date, and the guy says go to Dave first, we'll get Dave first, like right before the scene of the getting him drugged and with the pigs on the farm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right before then, and he said we'll get Dave first. That's crazy. I was like, okay, it doesn't seem like these guys are like, it didn't seem like they were unaware of what's going on. It seemed like they were already playing this and they were like one
step ahead at all.
Step ahead. It goes to show how smart, the protagonist is. But what was I saying before that? Oh, confrontation. When Michael goes to Matthew towards the very end, and then goes in the freezer, I'm like, whoa, he's acting like he doesn't know what's going on. Yeah, oh shoot, what's about to happen? The way he calmly explains everything. That's a psychopath. Like,
but and the pound of flesh thing, I was like, yo, this guy's wildin', bro.
I thought when he said pound of flesh, he meant I thought he meant
Billy.
I was like, and then he said you decide yourself. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want to give him 4 pounds, you know what I mean? I wouldn't waste that. But regardless,
chill out.
Regardless, though. But I got 2 questions about the plot. And then
right. Hold on, before we get to that, before we get to like questions about the plot, let's go ahead and give our ratings for the comedy. We'll get there at one point. The comedy. We'll go ahead. I know how much you love comedy, Billy. Go ahead. What do you give it out of 10? This one is out of 10.
Okay, out of 10, honestly, comedy wasn't everywhere. But when it was there, it was great. So I'm going to give it a 9.
Nevi, you still there? I'll go ahead, I guess, until Nevi returns.
Nevi.
All right. Okay, for comedy, like you said, the comedy wasn't everywhere. And just like you said, whenever it was there, it was perfectly timed. I feel the delivery was almost always amazing. But the thing is that comedy is there to make you laugh. And I never there were maybe 1 or 2 instances where I was laughing out loud. Just like we said, the scene with the guys, just Dave, Mike, just that was probably the funniest scene in the movie. Aside from that, it was subtle comedy. It wasn't overt comedy. It was clever comedy too. So I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. So Nevi,
what did Billy give it?
Billy gave it a 9. I gave it an 8. Nevi, out of 10, the comedy.
That's crazy. I really don't think mine's gonna be that high because Billy said it right. It's not all comedy, and if I'm comparing it to like other top tier comedies, that'd be very difficult for me to stretch. So I'm gonna give it a 7.5.
Okay, Nevi, you actually brought up a good point. The idea of comparing it to other comedies. When you say that, and I look back, no, there's no way you can compare it to movies that are like specifically for comedy. So I'm gonna take it back and put it at 8.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't made for comedy, but for
Yeah,
being what it
yeah.
is
I
and
feel
having
like
the comedy,
for me, I feel like that itself makes the comedy stand out because it's not made for comedy. Of course, if you just search it up, it's an action / comedy, but having the comedy in there and having it in there, so what feels to me so perfectly, it doesn't seem untimed, misplaced at any places. That just makes it a bit better. Okay, let's move on to the action, and I'll start off here. I'll say that go ahead.
Oh shoot! I gotta say this at the beginning of your video. I said this sci-fi. I said that because in the picture that you sent me, it was under sci-fi / action.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember that?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, my fault there. I told you I didn't see the trailer. I had no idea what this was about as I went in. So yeah, I just want to make that clear. I had no idea. I realized.
Yeah, but can you add my?
Yeah. I was confused why another Nebiu was in the waiting room.
Yeah, this phone's about to die, so I have to switch it out.
Right. Okay, I believe I admitted you.
So
back to the action. I had it entrancing. That's what, for any of the action, I just think it's entrancing because, like I said, any confrontation was amazing tension. It was well built up. It had you most of the times on the edge of your seat because, well, I won't go into the predictability of it or the unpredictability, but I'll get into that a little bit later. I think it was good, just overall action. But I will say that there's nothing that makes it stand out. There's nothing that, like, the action itself, looking at Nigel for some reason compared this to Kingsman. And that is some action. When you think of the overall choreography of it, the editing, any fight scene, all the action, that is like near 10 out of 10 level action. This, I feel, falls far below that because there's nothing that makes it stand out. The cinematography, even though I did praise, I believe it was Alan Rickman. No, that's definitely not his name. That's Snape. Alan Stewart. Alan Rickman is Snape from Harry Potter.
Oh shoot.
Alan Stewart. Alan Stewart was. There's nothing about his cinematography that makes it stand out to me. It gets the job done, but there's nothing amazing about it. And that's the same thing for the action. There's nothing that stands out about it. It gets the job done, but there's nothing amazing about it that makes it stand out.
I'd agree. Yeah, there's some crazy wild scenes that, it's not even action based.
I feel the plot itself, the build up of the scene. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I insist.
Okay, thank you. Just like how the action is built up, and how, once again, going back to the acting and how it's the delivery prior to it is built up. I feel like that itself is better than the action. It makes you more tense, seeing what is about to happen, rather than once it actually does happen.
Yeah. I don't really much to speak on that.
I mean, is there any action in here?
I mean, I guess like the choreography. We can talk about that, like when the teens were fighting and they were dancing with the movie clip for YouTube.
Oh, the music! Hey man, that music video was fire though. You can't. That was a fine music video right there.
Yeah, and there was some cool fighting scenes when they were fighting. They were doing some flips, stuff going crazy, but sure.
I would say they're good, but I just don't think there's anything that stands out about them. Once again, just kind of getting repetitive here. Billy, do you have anything to say about the fight scenes before, or the action in general? I'll say that one car crash, that actually got me off guard. That I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, the only action I saw was in the gym when the boys were practicing boxing or jump roping. I didn't see too many action.
Yeah.
Like really.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Like other than people pulling the trigger, or what else? Or the guy vomiting this. Or actually the scene where guy got pushed off the balcony That's the most
Hold
action
up.
in the movie.
No. When it comes to, I was about to say Fletcher. The coach. When the coach was in the restaurant and he got confronted by like those 4 younger guys and he just beat them up. That right there. I know, Billy, you've seen Kingsman: The Secret Service, correct?
Yes.
Now, you remember the initial bar scene, right? That scene gave me those vibes, whereas, older guy beating up younger people. But
I definitely.
it gives me those vibes. But once again, I'm really getting repetitive. It just isn't on that level. Just overall, I don't feel that they didn't max out the overall ability of that scene or the potential of that scene. Looking at Kingsman, comparing it to those movies. I don't have much else to say. I think I know what I'm going to give it.
Yeah. Wait, what was it out of 5?
Yeah, this one's out of 10 because this is a action comedy. So I feel the action does play a much bigger role in this than as big a role as it should. For me, out of that 10,
that case.
Go ahead, Nebby. I want you to go first. I insist this time.
All right. I'm gonna give it a 4 in action. Rip the homies.
Billy, what do you give this movie out of a 10?
This is actually like praising it a little too much, but for like the good of a movie it is, I'm gonna give it a 4.
Oh, she said it too much for a 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm thinking back. Like I said, Kingsman's action. Once again, I'm just taking it back to there because Nigel initially compared it to that. I feel like that's a 9 out of 10. Right off the top of my head, I can't think of what would be 10 out of 10. Even Titanic, which it's not an action movie, but when you think of Titanic and you think of like those intense and then those crazy scenes and you think about the action, I would even put that higher than this because it's just much more immense. However, I do
Don't
feel
get me
like
started on Titanic.
I haven't seen Titanic.
I already know what I'm going to talk about.
Okay. We'll get to that in the future episode. However, I stand by my statement where I'm saying it's entrancing. It's definitely the action scenes, the build up for it, and I would say if it was just the action scenes in general, I would give it a 6 out of 10. But since we're talking about the action on its own, I'm gonna give it a 5. All right, just to recap, so far for acting, for me, I've given it a 4.5 out of 5. For comedy, an 8 out of 10. For action, a 5 out of 10. Nebby, for acting, a 4.5 out of 5. Comedy, a 7.5 out of 10. And action, a 4 out of 10. Billy, you've given acting a 4.5 out of 5. Comedy, you've given it an 8 out of 10. And for action, a 4 out of 10. I just realized Nebby is either frozen or he's doing another amazing job. And I'm going to assume he's frozen. Let's go ahead and get into the engagement of the film, which I'll start off just to give context. By engagement, what I mean is just how engaged were you throughout? And Billy, you said this perfectly earlier. You couldn't take your eyes off the screen most of the time. And, I hate exposition. I hate first acts of films usually because it's just information. I want to just get straight into the action. But once again, this movie just does it in such a clever way that it keeps me engaged.
Yeah, I don't. Should I take off points for like us stopping the movie? Because we didn't stop because we were disengaged, but like I hate giving perfect scores.
Well, yeah, I don't think you should take off points because of that. Because we stopped it because we were so engaged in it that we had to. We were so in awe of what was occurring that we had to stop it.
I thought it was like cool that we both like realized when.
Exactly.
That's how good the movie is. That we both at a certain time knew that this is when we gotta stop and check out what the other person is taking.
Yeah. Just that like 6 or 7 minute stretch. The first time we paused, I'm trying to remember exactly what was happening. I remember one of the times was when
we thought Mickey.
What'd you say?
It was when we thought Mickey killed those two.
Yeah. And then the second time was once what was that Asian dude's name? Is
it the guy puking?
Dry Eye. Dry Eye. Nah,
Yeah,
the Dry Eye when he got to his wife, when he got to Mickey's wife, and then
yeah.
just that whole series of events. I don't want to spoil it in any way because that's I think that's the best span of the movie. That's the best scene of the movie to me, and it's all really engaging. I will say though, once again, the first act, I never really liked first acts of films, so I'll go ahead and have that as a disclaimer. The first 20 minutes or so dragged on it dragged on more than the rest of it. It just I didn't feel as engaged in it for the first after like the first 10 minutes. I usually I'll always check how far I am into a movie, and I have this one rule where my first time checking, it should be about 20 minutes in. You should be able to connect me into the movie for 20 minutes. My second time checking, it shouldn't be until about 40 minutes in, where 40 minutes in I find most 2-hour movies, that's when they start to slow down. This movie, the first time checking, it was only about 15 minutes, and I started getting bored right around there. It dragged on for a little bit more than it needed to, the original exposition. But then after that, I didn't pause again until we actually had to check with each other to make sure that we were getting everything right. And I think I know what I'm going to give it for engagement. Everything I said so far, I don't think it's something that I'll change my mind on. Nebi is back, so I'll let him talk a little bit before we give all of our scores for the engagement. Or Billy, do you have anything else to say about it? Because I kind of just rambled on for a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't want to give it a perfect score. I always have to find flaws because there's no such thing as a perfect anything. And as you were talking, you talked about how in the beginning, you can get bored, and I realized that it was like that for me. Although I did not pause, but when he was introducing character and talking about how Mickey's most precious thing is his wife, and I thought the wife wasn't gonna have any importance to the story. I was like, why is he talking about her?
How often were you bored?
Okay, Nembu, I must say this. So you finished 10 minutes after us. First, did you start the same as us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he did. Why?
So there must have been a reason why you 10 minutes behind. Like, what made you take so long?
Well, I finished my popcorn, so I went downstairs to like get some more snacks, but I had difficulty finding some.
Did you say you finished
parkour?
No, popcorn.
Oh, popcorn. Okay.
They were throwing me around with these like twists and turns in this movie, but I couldn't really handle it. I wasn't really prepared for any of this. So I guess engagement. I never really fell into the story like I usually would. I never like felt like I was surrounded by these characters. I don't really know why. Maybe just like the tone. I wasn't really in the mood for for the movie, for its style. So I guess engagement for me wasn't that high. I mean, I did like everything that happened in the movie that kept my attention, but I wasn't as engaged as in like, let's say like Harry Potter, where I would be in.
I mean, I don't think anything engages you as much as you're engaged into Harry Potter, man. That's not a fair assessment. Do you know how much you love her? We did a whole future 8-episode series coming up on our rankings of each Harry Potter podcast. I mean, Harry Potter movie. And just ranking.
They don't know about that, bro.
Oh, yeah, they don't. It's just going to give you a heads up, coming out in August, October, September, maybe they do, though. Eventually. Maybe they do. All right. Well, I remember what I was going to say. Remember earlier on in the movie, like when Fletcher was introducing all the characters, and he brought up his wife, when he brought up Mickey's wife, he said that's like the only weak spot that he has. I don't know why. I thought that was going to come back in some way that would really, really bite him. I guess it did come back in that scene we were talking about a few seconds ago. Yeah. But I thought it was going to be like I'm trying to think of a movie where I don't know if you've seen Casino, but for anybody who has seen any of the viewers, it's just like a movie where his wife does something that to betray him. That's why I what I expected, and it doesn't seem like
Oh,
yeah, it didn't seem
I,
like
I
that one line of dialogue. Go ahead.
yeah, I thought some would happen, but I thought like shoot, I don't know if this is a spoiler
It doesn't
from the
matter.
scene or something.
This is not spoiler free. Go ahead.
I, I
Yeah.
thought I thought she was gonna die. Like to you know how sometimes they kill off a character, loved one, so it creates a passion for the
Yeah,
character and he becomes stronger or whatever. Pain
yeah,
helps you overcome weaknesses or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Engagement on my end. I've given my argument for why. I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. It's out of 10. 7.5. Billy.
I'm gonna give it. Oh, wait, me or Billy?
Billy.
Billy, you go.
I'm gonna give it 8.5 out of 10.
Oh dang. I'm gonna
Nevi.
give it a 6.
Ooh, that's much lower than
Yeah,
I
I'm gonna give it a
expected.
6.
All right.
Yeah, but I feel like these are one of the movies that I think I really have to rewatch it because like
Yeah,
I
I feel
wasn't
like
prepared.
yeah, I feel like this is really a rewatchable movie. I'm willing to go back to this
Yeah.
any time it's on because I'm sure there's something I missed. It's pretty fun overall, and just like I said, it's pretty engaging. Now let's move on to another aspect that really does often impact how engaging a film is the score or the music that accompanied it. I'll go ahead and start off again by saying, in the very beginning of the movie, I felt that the music was amazing. I felt it caught me off guard, and especially the opening credits. If you guys remember the song that was played, I don't remember the name of it or literally any of the words, but I remember actually
Oh
listening to the
yeah.
song and actually watching the opening credits because it accompanied the visual so perfectly. However, later on in the movie, this might be because the action began to actually occur, or maybe the plot line began to intensify, but I don't remember any music or any piece of composition beyond the first 15 to 20 minutes.
I would disagree with that statement because
Hmm.
I do agree that the first half had like a lot of really cool scenes. Like I like the UK rap style that they put into like the fight scenes and with those characters,
I
and
actually
I do
forgot
like the
about that.
beginning stuff.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did too.
All right, that's a nice bring up
But
there
I
because
do like a lot. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying that's a good catch there because I completely forgot about that as like being a part of the music of the entire film as a whole.
Yeah, M Curtis had that too, but and like, well, I love how the music just like it plays into the serious moments, like when he was like how emotional he got when he was doing that thing with his wife, but that I got serious, but
Wait,
just the
what?
music when stuff like that happens. The
Wait,
music,
what scene?
when he was talking to the guy uh at the freezer place when he was before he asked for a pound of flesh,
I
just
Yeah.
like.
genuinely I don't remember any of the music from that. Like literally
Oh, maybe
nothing.
it's not music, but it's just like sound effect.
Yeah, I mean that's the score. I don't even remember
You
the
said
song
with
from that.
his wife?
Like when he's talking to the guy, like why he messed with his wife, and he started
Oh,
yelling.
yeah.
Yeah, these sound effects, they really do amplify the feeling, the thrill that's going on. I don't know if you
Right.
consider that music though, but
Oh,
Yeah.
that's the score.
Other,
That's the score. That's what's called the score of the
okay.
movie.
yeah. Other than the UK rap style and the opening, I don't remember too much of the music. But I gotta say the score, as Yabnik says, I thought it was great because it really I don't know, my heart was like ready to jump
Yeah.
at the moment where Mickey, the guy came behind Mickey, and then we heard a gunshot, and he was on the phone with his wife. you would want to believe that ain't no way the protagonist just got killed halfway through the story. Like to me, I was like, no way. It seemed like it did just happen, and maybe this film is going somewhere else than I thought. And then they go back, I find out, oh, there's blood on his face, and he moves his head. Oh, he hasn't been shot. Yeah, seems like that.
All right, so I'll go ahead and give it my score. This is out of 5. I give it a 1.5 out of 5.
Oh my, that's shocking.
It's just so uneventful to me. I'll bring it up again when I get to the plot, but it just seems so uneventful to me. I can't remember a lot of it.
There's other things I just can't remember, but I remember how good they were, but I don't remember what they were.
All right.
Yeah, like Yabinek said, if you can't remember even the scene, yeah, that does. He has a good point about how that shows that the music wasn't there.
Nevi, you recently watched Inception, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not for you. When I think of the score of that movie, and you can think of specific scenes, at least for me, where you can't like recite what the song is, but you know what the score was at that moment. You know what sound effects were occurring because it's just so iconic. You can remember it in your mind, and it intensified it in such a way. This movie just didn't have that effect to me. That's why I have to give it that 1.5 out of 5.
Yeah.
Never what do you give it?
All right. Y'all sort of convinced me to downgrade it like 0.5, so I'm gonna give it a solid 4.
Oh.
Did you just say I'll give it a 5 out of 4?
No, it's a solid 4.
Oh, 4, okay. Billy.
Yeah.
1.5 for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a 2.
A 2. Okay.
Oh.
All right, that's probably the biggest variance in any scores we have so far. Now let's go over to
be honest, Nebby, I would have brought it. I would have gave it a 1 if Nebby didn't talk about that UK rap style.
Dang, yeah.
Yeah,
well, I know that
I would have too.
If there's one thing, like, if I can find it, but like.
All right, the plot.
Let's go over to the plot. I'm gonna try maybe looking for it.
Where now we talked a good amount about this, just sprinkling it through. The plot overall, we talked a lot about it. I've started off for a lot of these. I'm gonna pass this over to Billy, and let him talk about the plot.
Me?
Billy.
Oh, you cut off a bit. I didn't hear you.
Yeah.
But plot. Yo. The plot was great. You know, like at the end, when we find out that Fletcher is pitching this idea to somebody, like I don't know why. I just like that scene. I was like, wow. It's amazing. As I talk about the sequence of the scenes, it just fell in order perfectly. Or not perfectly, but amazingly. And everything went together. The narration was at the right time, explaining things at the right time. Enough time for us to know, some background, what's happening, and make theories about what's going to happen based on what he's saying. And overall, the plot, I don't have too much to say about the plot that I haven't said. Like, I'm already ready to give it a score.
I gotta say, okay, this is gonna be the most contradicting thing I've said. I felt the movie was very predictable. Well, not very. Yeah. I felt the movie was predictable, but I also think that it had twists that I really could not predict. Both of them just happened, and I can't tell. At first, I wanted to say this movie's predictable, and then I kind of thought back more. There were some good twists in there. This might not be as much of a twist, but like you said earlier, when we start off with Mickey supposedly getting shot, and then we get to that scene, and then we finally see that it's blood on his face. Or even before that, I was like you were, just Howard. I actually thought that he did get shot. I was like, how are they going to run through the rest of this movie without their main protagonist? How are they going to go from this point on? You know, kind of like a Psycho type thing where they kill off the main protagonist halfway through. That's what I was thinking. And then they don't do that, which in hindsight, I feel I predicted that, but also obviously I didn't because it was a twist in some way. And then at the end,
I gotta agree with that. Just a second, I gotta agree. That what you just said about like a contradicting, I understand perfectly what you're saying, man.
and I can't tell if it's a good thing or a bad. I think it's a good thing, but also I can also say it's a bad thing because for some reason it's predictable, but also it's not. And I'm just split right now because I know predictable movies are always never the best movies, but this movie is one of the best movies. I said it earlier. I think this was the undoubtedly in my top 3 of this year so far, possibly the best movie of this year so far. And this is one of the few movies that if we didn't have to record this right now, this is one of the few movies that I would hit rewind automatically. I would be willing to go back to the beginning just to possibly rewatch and catch what I missed in that initial watch. And I gotta say, that's something that's really going for it. I'm trying to see if I wrote anything down that. Nebby, go ahead and talk a little bit as I look over some of the notes I wrote a few seconds ago.
Alright. So, the gentleman, you already know. This movie had it out. One thing I want to say is, I think there was some like almost missed points that like I don't understand. Like one cool thing that happened was when they're talking about how the movie should go, and then he kills the dragon, and then they rewind everything that they said, and then they show how he would actually act. My question is like, if the whole thing was real, how can they do that? You know what I mean?
If the what was real?
Well,
Like,
I think
what
that
was
was
that one scene where
that was the point of it. I think that was the point of it. Well, what you're saying, I think. Okay, repeat one more time just to make sure that I'm not confusing what you're saying.
So when they're explaining like how the movie should go and how Mickey should act, one thing I didn't understand was how like when they portray Mickey as like killing the dragon, the Asian guy, and it's going crazy, he's going berserk. But then they rewind because they're like, that's not how he would actually act. And then like if this whole thing is
That's
real,
just okay. That actually goes into another praise that I have for. Well, I guess this goes back to also the acting, and first of all, whoever it is that wrote this script did an amazing job. And I say this because the dialogue, which is directly from the script and maybe a few, and especially with the delivery from the acting, is the perfect blend of just being funny, being clever, and just like getting in a little bit of gangster at the same time, right? And what I'm thinking is that scene itself is the perfect blend of all 3 of those things. Maybe not funny as much. It's definitely clever. When you think about it, you did not expect that, did you? I'll say that I didn't expect that. I didn't expect it to rewind. I thought that he killed him. And once again, like you said, with the main protagonist dying halfway through, what are they gonna do with the main antagonist gone? But eventually they do get there, and that's them. That's the screenwriter building up to that point. And that's one more thing. I said this to Billy when we finally saw Dry Eye die. Every time that I saw Mickey about to kill somebody, I wanted him to do it. I don't think it's a movie, so I won't say it's a bad thing, but I wanted to see Mickey because Mickey's been built up as this gangster. He's been built up as an absolute maniac who came from the South and who's just been using his cleverness and his gangster ability to get to the top. And each time they build it up and then they rewind it, or what's his name? Your lordness or what? Yeah, the dragon dude. Right there, when he had the gun pointed at his head, I wanted him to shoot that. He just betrayed him. And then
wow.
He shows his cool. And then we finally get to this point where pop. It's been built up to. You want it to happen. And for me, I was just really it's like a mix of like that relief, it's that suspense. It's just so many things mixed up into the exact same.
Yes. The relief came when she said, hey, babe. I was like, yes, he's finally gonna kill somebody.
Yes, sir. It's like imagine. I know all of us have seen John Wick. Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay.
Nah.
Okay. So, I know we've all seen John Wick. Imagine if we went through the entirety of John Wick, and each time he almost got to kill somebody, it rewinded, and then it just kept doing that. You can't tell me that once you get to that final big bad, you don't want that to happen. You don't want him to go crazy on that guy, and that's how it felt like for me when it finally got to even once again, that was like 25 minutes before the ending. And once again, me and Billy, we paused at the exact same time. And then we were like, what are they going to do from this point on? It's just amazing storytelling. I feel like great plot, great story overall. Go ahead, Nebi.
But how do you get there so quickly, though? You know what I mean? Like, this man got there quick. But regardless, though, one thing I want to talk about is how, like, the tone shifted almost. Like, I feel like in the beginning of the movie, it was more about weed and how less of a bad drug it was than, like, heroin. And then, like, I feel like they completely, like, move on from that subject. I feel like that was the weed for the most part was, like, the main focus of the movie. And then I sort of, like, dropped down. So I guess I didn't really, like, I appreciate.
I think that's why I hate exposition so much, because like you said, it's like the first act, right? You got to build up why is this happening. So they got to build this up for all this time saying, okay, why is he so respected? They got to build that up in some way, and they build up his empire. But then would you have liked the story as much if they just stayed on that topic? Or would you have liked it more, or do you like it more that they shifted a bit away from it?
I don't think they should have abandoned it completely. I think they should shift from it, but I don't think they should let go.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They shifted. I don't think they completely abandoned it. It was still maybe in like the last 5 minutes where we got to the point where it was Fletcher and he was, pitching the meeting, and then he finally gets caught at the end. That is probably where they completely abandoned it, and they completely went to just the ending, a conclusion. Prior to that, it was still all up to that. Yeah. The guy, maybe like 10 minutes before, I think this is like, to me, the real conclusion. Well, no, it isn't. But the conclusion of this guy's storyline, the Matthew. You guys remember Matthew, the rich dude who was attempting to buy it when he was sent to the freezer. That's only about 10 minutes before, and that is still from the original plotline. They didn't completely abandon it. They shifted it to align with the developing plot.
Interesting. But actually, one thing also though, like if I move on from that subject, also the fact that Matthew was like, I knew what his plan was from the beginning, that he was introduced.
Yeah, that was like I'll definitely say that is the predictable thing. I think they could have done a better job with that. It's just so. Think back to like even Rush Hour. You think back to Rush Hour and some of the villain from the first movie, the old one, that white guy.
I see where you go.
Yeah, it's just a repetitive villain that's been used a lot, and it's just used here again. Nothing special about him. It's definitely predictable.
Yeah. And then just doing characters, but like, where did that guy come from? Like the guy who like was pitching it come from though? That guy's kind of random. No cap though.
Oh, at the very end.
No, I mean like just like he was there from the beginning, but I just don't know where he came from. You know what I mean?
Are you talking about Fletcher? Oh yeah. They didn't really go into Fletcher's background, and just like, what the hell?
Yeah, like what, I was asking that too. Who the fuck is this dude? Why does he come in?
What is his? Well, yeah,
why was he
definitely like, what is he
the whole time?
Yeah, that's a good point, Nebi. All right, let's go ahead and give our scores. Let's start off with Billy. This one is out of 10. The plot out of 10. What do you give it?
10.
A what?
Ooh.
A 7.
A 7. No? Okay, let's go over to Nebi. Out of 10.
Out of 10, I did like the concept and everything, but there's a lot of questions left hanging. So I think Billy's right with the 7. I feel like that's a good spot for it.
Thinking back, I feel that a 7 is kind of low. I thought that they did
Yeah.
great with the build-up. They did great overall. Just like I said, the plot is pretty much what does the screenwriter put out. And I really feel that this script was great from top to bottom. Like definitely a few questions throughout, and some plot holes, I'll say. But I don't think that brings it down 3 points to me. I'll put it at 8, or I'll give it a 7.75. All right, I'll
Oh
make
yeah.
one. Yep.
Before he gets moved on. This is a big fucking number.
Oh, this is a big fucking gun.
Had a last-second entry of cinematography, which Nebi said that he really wanted to talk about it, so we'll go ahead and add that on. But we're just gonna count that as out of 5 for now. And before we get to the payoff, let's go ahead and talk about the cinematography. Nebi, I know you really wanted to talk about it, so take it off.
Yeah. Well, I feel like cinematography was the probably one of the best, maybe if not the best aspect of this movie. So I feel like we all enjoyed this movie, and I don't think we should leave out this category because, at least for me, it was one of the reasons I enjoyed it the most. I really like what they did with the like how they explain things in the yellow with like what's going on, and just like a lot of the little things they would move the camera or just like make things look the way like when two people are talking, and then like I noticed and like it looked like they were like having a formal conversation, but then when we like zoom out, it was just like so different, completely different story. So I guess like the little things like that, there was really in my opinion, I could feel the directorial stamp that Yavnik but that Yavnik refers to often. So yeah, I think the
All right.
cinematography was just well rounded.
Okay, so I'll just write down what I wrote about cinematography. Right after the movie ended, this is my exact word. Nothing amazing about the cinematography, but it did get the job done, and I kind of stick to that. Once again, going back to the cinematographer, it was his first time. This was his first big movie. I don't think he did a bad job with it, but there's just nothing special that stood out to me. But then again, when it comes to cinematography, camera action, all that, I usually don't. I don't. That my eye doesn't catch on to that unless there's some like very rare cases like Punch Drunk Love. Looking at some of Nolan's movies, pretty much anything Roger Deakins does. If you guys don't know him, he's Blade Runner 2049, pretty much Dunkirk, all those Inception, Interstellar, all those movies. Pretty much anything that guy does. Aside from that, on my first viewing, subtle hints in cinematography don't really stand out. And maybe on my rewatches, it might stand out here for the gentleman because I am 100% going to return to this sometime very soon. But nothing stood out to me about the cinematography, just very average. Billy, do you remember anything about the cinematography that you want to add on?
Yeah, for me, I gotta say it was above average. Of course, it wasn't anything like from the trailers I've seen, Inception or movies similar to that. But it was definitely it stood out a little bit to me. The fact that he was able to connect all those confusing sequence, and maybe you said that you were confused on what was going on. I'm telling you, this guy does a good job of like putting scenes uh, in the right order for people to understand, even
That
with his
is
narration.
that
So
is a great point there because, like you said, something that didn't come to my mind is the cinematography was used to aid. I mean, obviously, it's always used to aid the story, but it helps you to understand the story even more. And that's something unique about it that I didn't catch in my first view, my first thought. That's a great point from Billy. I think that moves up my scoring a little bit. I'll go
yeah,
ahead.
but
Go ahead, Billy.
yeah, I mean, I was pretty much done, but yeah,
All right. So out of the 5, I'll start off with originally I wanted to give it a 2.5, pretty much like halfway down. But with that last point from Billy, I'll give it a 3. 3 out of 5 for cinematography. Billy?
I'll give it a 4.
Nebby?
Oh, yeah, actually, Billy did convince me. I was going in the middle of 3, but like, even though I was confused, if he didn't order it the way he did, because that's what like made me catch on sometimes about like what was happening and like just like the sheer scope of the movie, like to even be able to understand what I was able to understand, that requires some complex cinema work. So I'm gonna go with the 4.
All right. Now we're going to move on to a much more subjective field. Well, all of these are subjective in one way or another, but I think this is the most. Payoff, which we started off this podcast with before we watched. We talked about our expectations. For the most part, well-roundedly, we wanted to go in with see some comedy. We wanted some nice action. Just go ahead and speak a little bit about, did this meet it? To me, once again, this is out of 5. For Payoff, the way that I do it at least is a 3.5. That means it pretty much, or a 4. A 4 is it just met your pay. It met it. It was exactly what you wanted. Anything higher than a 4, that 5 is it exceeded whatever you expected. It was beyond what you could have accepted. Anything below that is it just missed off. That's kind of my range of thinking. I'm gonna go ahead. If you have another way of thinking about your ratings, go ahead. Give some context to your score. And let's start off with Nebby here. How much payoff did this movie have for you?
When I was watching this movie, I really thought like this is a movie Yamlik would like because it was talking about making a movie and it was a movie in itself. So I was like, Yamlik likes to do both of these things, and he likes both of these things. And for you, I think payoff might be higher, but personally, just because I wasn't able to comprehend the sheer scope of what was going on, and just
Go ahead.
it's just I guess the payoff wasn't that high. I felt kind of confused. I left confused, sort of just overwhelmed, but underwhelmed. You know what I mean? Because it didn't. I guess there was a lot of pieces, but I never felt like they connected too well. So that's my opinion. I guess my score is out of 5, right?
Yeah, it's out of 5.
I'm gonna have to give it a 3.5.
It just from what I explained,
Thank you, Billy.
that's just like it just missed out on your expectations. It's not anything below your expectations, but it didn't meet what you expected from the movie, right?
Precisely.
All right. Let's go over to Billy.
Yeah. The way of scoring, I'm gonna have to agree with the way Yabinek talks about it. 4 meaning it meets my expectation. 5 meaning it exceeds it. But going into it, I gotta say when you break it down to action and comedy, the plot or the story, the movie did not meet my expectation when I separated into comedy or action. But thing is, I don't know where to put this movie, like what genre exactly. I've been trying to figure out. But overall, this movie did meet my expectation for sure. And I gotta say, the fact that it wowed me is gonna give it some extra points and exceeded my expectation just a little bit. So if I were to score it, I'd give it a 4.5.
4.5 from Billy. Okay. Going back, what I went in with was I knew it was comedy. Once again, I don't think any of us actually watched the trailer for the movie, correct?
No.
I didn't.
All right. So I went in expecting some great performances. I got that. I went in knowing what I would get from Guy Ritchie, which is a really good. Usually he's known for like these heist thrillers, and that's what I expected from this, like a heist type movie, but it ended up not being exactly that. I guess you can
Yeah.
you could possibly have it in that category for some parts of it. But I think this movie itself, it just falls into heist, action, thriller, just a whole bunch of comedy to a whole bunch of different genres. And expectations wise, I don't think, just off of what Nigel said, I would say that my expectations were pretty high. I was, if any of you have seen The Town, it's another like heist movie, and that's what I was expecting from this. And I got nothing like that. I got something completely different, and I wasn't disappointed. It it's not that often where movies that have been so hyped up still are able to grab my attention, keep my attention, and catch me off guard with the unpredictable predictability once again. Uh, I guess for me, it's I won't say it exceeded my expectations exponentially, but it just barely took over my expectations. And I'll give this a 4.15 out of that 5. It's not bad at all. I mean, obviously, it's not bad. It's not amazing where it's just, it blew my mind. Once again, I say this. I'm willing to go back to this whenever necessary. I want to go back and watch this. I'm sure, once again, there's plenty of stuff I missed. I want to get back to it, see some more stuff, kind of see if there are any hints that fix those plot holes that we talked about. Would you guys agree that this is something that you want to go back and rewatch?
Definitely.
Yeah, just to better understand it. But now that I'm looking back at it, like I never really felt connected to any of the characters, and that's a really big thing for me. I got at least like feel one. And guess the most character, the most character, the character I felt the most connected with was the guy who like was talking about the script and like who was
Really?
trying to
Fletcher?
like make it a movie.
Fletcher?
That one character. I don't know.
For
I don't
me,
know his name.
for me, it
Wow.
would have been Ray to me. I feel like this isn't. I know Mickey's technically the main character, but I feel like this was more of like a Ray's movie where he was probably he played a bigger role in some things. Mickey is. I feel like all the characters were built up great though. I liked most of the good guys. The bad guys were not the greatest. I feel like they could have done better with the villains, and kind of predictable there. But I felt the good guys were built up pretty well. And I gotta agree. I didn't connect with them. Like I didn't like think, oh shoot, if she dies, then I'm gonna cry or something. Or I'm gonna be super sad. It's good though. It's nothing amazing once again, but it's character wise, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I gotta agree on is about what you said about the villains. They weren't threatening.
Oh yeah. Good
Yeah,
point.
like really, the only time the villain was the one make me think that Mike was about to die was the Russian guy.
Yeah.
That's probably the only time I thought, oh, he's the serious villain here. He's really about to kill Michael.